We appreciate all you do, have done here just in the short time you've been there. Look forward to what you're going to do. Look forward to remembering your career like your high schoolers remembered, down the road too, both what you've done philanthropically and as a public servant. So let's give a Knoxville Chamber welcome to Senator Massey.
Thank you all for having me here, and I decided it's kind of like a Baptist church. He knew not to put any sheets on the front row. So first, just going to give you a little overview. I am the only new member of either the House or the Senate. You know, there's 99 members of the House, there's 33 members of the Senate, but because this was a special election, I'm it. And so the orientation I had to go through kind of did on my own, and I'm very thankful that I've been going down there through my work at Sertoma for 18 years now. So I have a lot of good working relationships with folks down there before I got there, whether it's members or member staff or the governor or commissioners or some of the folks down there in that other arm of government, the lobbying group. So the big things have been going really well as far as getting used to things. The challenge has really been more getting used to the little things, having 14 appointments in one day and not being able to catch your breath or go eat lunch.
Meet people with common interests.
There's about 14 of us over to the governor's mansion to eat. And I sat next to Senator Henry, who's from the Nashville area, and he was first elected to the House in the mid-50s, like a year or two before I was born. And then he left for a little bit and then came back to the Senate. But so they were doing a lot of storytelling that night, which was fun. But one time he said that they had done the budget, and of course now you get the copy of the budget that's like this thick and everything. He said he went over and asked if he could, had some questions about the budget and if he could see it, and they looked down, they asked him what his name was, and they went down the sheet and said, "Nope, you're not on the list, you don't get to see it." So times have changed a lot a bit. Back then, a Republican and a Democrat shared offices, so that helped with communication across the aisle. And the other little story they said is one time they were in committee meetings and somebody started asking those questions, and they said, "Now, Senator, if you're not going to follow the script, we're going to have to follow the rules." So times have changed a little bit since then. So anyway, the very first thing we had to do this year was deal with redistricting. And, our own Ryan Haynes was real involved in the helping oversee the subcommittee that looked at it on the House side. And obviously, Bob was most interested in it for the congressional districts. But here in Knox County, because of population growth, we ended up with another wholly encompassed new state representative. And because of numbering, and they didn't want to change everybody else's numbers, we have all these like, 12, 13, and 14, 15, our state rep districts. Our new one is called 89th. So we had to borrow that from West Tennessee and pull that over here. So it's kind of weird having that large of a number as a state rep, but that's that new out in the Hardin Valley, Carnes area. So, and then another big result is Representative Tyndall has decided he's not going to run. So we have actually 2 open seats in Knox County, which is the first time we've done that in a long time. Senator McNally took in a little bit more of Knox County just because of our population growth. Basically, our state senators serve about a little over 192,000, and your state reps about 64,000, and our U.S. Congress, they can actually do them down to the exact number. They're 705,123. So, couple other big things that are really going on this year, and then we can ask some questions. And I know I've got some folks here from that are state employees, but the TEAM Act is one of the big things, and they're working. They're looking at revising the way state employees work and kind of the rules of the game, basically. And when the governor asked each of the commissioners to do a top-to-bottom review of all the departments, apparently that really was the #1 thing that came back that we needed to, or that they recommended that there needed to be some changes made there. Obviously, anytime there's changes, they're not all applauded. They're not all perfect when they first make them. And so I know the State Employees Association is working real closely with the governor and his staff, trying to get them to a point that people can kind of agree on at least the major points of it. So I'm not sure that they'll totally get exactly where everybody's happy with it, but they're at least working on it, and I know they are making progress on agreeing to more things. Of course, the governor's budget was a major thing. The total budget is $31 billion this year. It's down $1 billion from last year. The tax collections are increasing, and they were able to fund quite a few things. I know we're getting some capital improvements at the University of Tennessee, but you know, there's some things that we're not funding that I think a lot of us would like to see funded. So they'll still be kind of smoothing off the rough edges of the budget through the budget hearings and everything. But I felt like with the money that he had, he did a good job of spreading it around and making sure a lot of the critical services were taken care of. A couple of other major changes in his budget. He is recommending that the sales tax go down from 5.5% to 5.3%. We haven't seen a reduction in our sales tax, and I can't remember if ever we've had a reduction in our sales tax. So, and he's hoping to get that down to 5%. So that would help everybody regardless of your income level, and I think that will make a big difference. He is looking at the inheritance tax going up from $1 million to $1.25 million, and slowly inching that up while he's governor. All the state employees did get a 2.5%, or it's recommended they get a 2.5% raise there. A couple other things that'll be major topics. There's still a lot of conversation around education. They're still tweaking that. I know my predecessor, Jamie Woodson, who I'm actually rooming with when I'm down in Nashville, is working with SCORE, and they're going around the state having input from teachers about the evaluation system to try to make that better. And I believe it's early March they're going to be over at the Visitor Center at UT and getting input. So we need to encourage all our teachers and educators. Dr. McIntyre, do you know the exact date? Is that the 6th? I think it's that first Monday in March, but either way, we can get that to you if you're interested. Just let me know. But we need to have a good turnout, because I know there has been frustrations with the evaluation system, and I'm encouraging teachers when I talk to them to show up and to voice those concerns, but we can't make it better without positive solutions, not complaints, but positive solutions. So so they're still working on that. There's a couple of bills that I think are really interesting in education. That we're trying to give some teachers some empowerment if they have students that are unruly and causing problems in their classroom. I know a number of teachers have said that is a big problem. You know, it's hard to teach when you've got somebody that's very disruptive and they've not quite had the tools they've needed, or felt like they've had the tools they've needed. Sometimes perception is everything, right? So and we did get an exemption from the No Child Left Behind, which was, we were one of 10 states that were able to do that, and we've been demonstrating that we kind of setting our own standards for excellence in Tennessee. So I think we're going to keep going with that. The health, and we're getting better in our ratings on health overall in the state, but we're still struggling with the prescription drug abuse there. We had I think back in December, we were at juvenile court, and Judge Irwin had said that they're taking more kids out of the home. I think it was up to almost 700 last year, and every single one of them, there was an issue of prescription drug abuse in the home. And it's just getting epidemic. I've had a young lady that she and her mother have come down to see me, but she called me like the first week of session, and her brother had been drug-free. He'd been clean basically for 6 months, and they had really been helping fight his drug addiction. They came back in town on January 1st, and on January 2nd, 12 hours later, he was dead from an overdose. And so there's they've strengthened the bill this year is to get the doctors to use more the database on the prescriptions, and hopefully that will help some. But we're continuing to need to strengthen that, because it's just about as fast as we get something in place, they come up with something else. The synthetic drugs is a problem, and so they had a bill that kind of showed what all was illegal as a synthetic drug, and they just changed the formula just slightly to make it so it doesn't fall under that illegal category. So there's some legislation that'll hopefully address that this year. And being a chamber and interested in business, this past year, 28,535 jobs were developed in Tennessee. And that was the annual report of the Economic and Community Development Department. And that is the highest number of job growth in Tennessee in 5 years. So that is very, very promising there. Judicial review, the judicial system is going to be a big topic this year. They're looking at the Court of the Judiciary and the makeup of that, and there will be the discussion on the electing of the Supreme Court judges, and there's a lot of thought there that we may have to put that for a vote as a constitutional amendment. So they're looking at that. The other big thing will be the health care, the Obama health care coming down from Washington. And what the plan is now, because you've got the Supreme Court case, you've also got the presidential elections to see what happens there. The governor and Darren Gordon at TennCare are going to pretty much, I think the plan is now, and things can change, but is that they'll develop a plan that can go into place if it looks like, if the president gets reelected and it doesn't look like we're going to have any relief from the federal. And then either the legislator will come back for a special session, or they'll have it under control, either one after the election. But they'll have things in place, so they're not going to be having to create it in November and December. So they're working on that. According to our the state, the good thing is the finances are sound in Tennessee. They've quoted, we have a balanced budget, we have low debt, we have a solvent unemployment trust fund, we have a sound retirement plan, and we have a manageable the retiree benefits. And, very few states can say that. I mean, I know there's a lot of things in state government in the past and even present that I think we could do a better job of dividing the pie of our resources. But I'm really proud to be a part of a state that does a good job managing its resources and is responsible, because we are all expected to do that in our homes. And it's bad when our governments can't do it. So Tennessee probably, I think, is in the top 5 of responsible fiscal management of all the states in the country. So I know we all have our issues that they're closer to our heart, that we like to see funded or are funded better, but at least we can be proud that we at least start with a balanced budget and then go from there. The other thing is to just, you as individual citizens of this state can make a difference. I know I've got some folks from the zoo are going to be coming over to visit me, and you can call your members, you can talk to them. They're all accessible. They're here in the community every week, and we're down there Monday. I go down Monday and come back Thursday. So, you know, most of your members are out in the community all weekend. I'm obviously doing auctions during the weekend, but they're around, but you can call them if you've got issues, if you've got concerns. Of course, we get a gazillion emails, but you can email but just let us know what your thoughts are, I mean, and participate in government. Also, you know, please encourage people to vote. I would imagine everybody here is members of the regularly voting population, but there's a lot that don't, especially our young people, and we need to be encouraging that more. I know back in my special election this past fall, at one point, 85% of the people that had voted at that point were over 50. And we've got to start doing something about getting our young folks involved in the voting process and participating and showing that they can make a difference regardless. So that's kind of a nutshell. I'll try to answer. Like I say, it's been interesting, it's fascinating, and I just thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be down there and represent you, and I'll do the best I can to help you in any way I can.